regarding fecal microbial transplants. So I have had clients who have done fecal transplant and have actually had some benefits from it, which is very interesting. So this is the area of probiotics and how the gut microbiome is actually going to support the process. So it's still a wide open playing field. We know that there are more bacteria that support oxalate breakdown than we thought before. So while something like Oxalobacter formigenes, which is like the big gun that everybody wants to have in their gut, that one is an obligate oxalate degrader. What that means is all it eats for food is oxalate. So if you've got that in your gut, you've got something that is going to be a powerful support to your overall ability to degrade oxalate. And that may be part of the reason why we can actually secrete oxalate back into the gut, is so that we can take advantage of the microbiome to break down some of the oxalate that's in the body. But other bacteria turn out to be pretty good oxalate degraders as well. And I believe it's Bifidobacteria animalis is one of the good ones. There's Infantis, Bifidobacteria infantis is another one that's a good one. And there's a couple different lactobacillus strains, which are also very good. What you're really after, though, is to create a community. So I'll give you a simple example. If you're a municipality and you're hiring people, you don't just hire street sweepers, because you also need firefighters and you also need playground workers and you also need, right? So we need this combination of species in the microbiome working synergistically for us. Ideally, we're going to want to have folks in our microbiome who are benign. But for those of you who have dealt with things like discovering your E. coli is a bit too high, interestingly enough, E. coli is one of the bacteria that helps to use up oxalate. So in some cases, we're going to want to shift the microbiome, but we're going to want to shift it kind of slowly. Same sort of thing as bringing down oxalate too fast. We're asking our body to move through a process which might change how it's functioning. And we need to do that slowly enough for the body to be able to make the swing. And when it comes to our gut microbiome, if it's adapted to a high oxalate input, we don't want to shift it too fast because it's trying to handle the fuel source, the food source that it's getting. So a couple things here, because I am no expert in this field at all. There are so many really big fields. You could be experts in like thiamine on itself. You could be experts in probiotics on itself. Like these are such big things that we're trying to put together in our puzzle pieces. But what I'd say here is that a product like Histamine X, which is a probiotic where it's low histamine, because a lot of us have histamine problems, so I'd want to avoid strains that produce too much of that. A product like that, it's got, I think, 6 different strains in there. That's probably a good idea. We can pick some specialists, something like Visbiome, which is what it's called in North America. I think it's called Vivo Mix outside of North America. It's a probiotic that's also got good research on degrading oxalate. Now, having used that product myself, go really slowly. That product kicked my butt. I was kind of sick because I just went, oh, a dose is this much. And I took the whole dose. Please don't do that. But the reason it kicked my butt, the reason I was so sick, I think, is in part, I was just trying to flip my microbiome way too fast. And I had too many things going on. So, yeah. Unfortunately, there are some of these things here where it's almost like the kind of process that you have when your computer boots up. You can't see it anymore, but I worked in the computer field back in the 1980s where a portable computer was really a luggable computer. It was the size of a portable sewing machine. They were huge. Anyway, when you started it up, you could see it telling you, I've done this, I've got the operating system, machine codes available. Like it would give you all these lines of things that would flash on the screen as it was building its own operating system to be able to do the work it was going to do. We don't see that now, but that's essentially what the computer does every time you've had it turned off and you turn it back on. It has to establish basic functions. Then on top of that, it builds the next layer and the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. And our bodies are doing stuff like that too. So if our bodies have moved to a kind of function where we're really dealing only with urgent things and we're ignoring a big backlog of stuff, and then you provide it with a whole bunch of nutrient or try to change the parameters too quickly, your body's going to kick up a fuss because it's adapted to where you are right now. And so we need to move it where we want to go in the size step that it can handle. That is frustrating and annoying, and I understand. And sometimes there's no other answer than that. I wish there was. That said, the fecal matter transplants, I have had people do them and start to be able to get a bit more oomph, a bit more ground. Not an instant fix by any stretch of the imagination. There is somebody who just had one a few months ago and is currently really struggling. But I had a couple of other clients where they were incredibly unwell and they did these and it gave them the boost to get to the next level. And once they got to that next level, then they could start to climb. So for those who are looking at something like this, especially if you're getting a transplant where you're really going to get a very robust microbiome that's going to be built from it, that can be really helpful, but not necessarily a slam dunk. This one's a tough call. But if I was still really sick, I would think about it just because of what it does for the microbiome. Okay, we can do more talking about probiotics, but I should probably do a bit more dive into the research because actually I was just before the meeting here, I was in the research and found some really good stuff on probiotics and oxalate. The research study, I've just got it up on my screen here, therapeutic effects of probiotics and herbal medications on oxalate nephrolithiasis. And it's from February 2024. So I hadn't seen this one previously. I'm going to probably do an article on it on Patreon because it's an update and see what I can track through in terms of the kinds of new things that they're telling us on this topic.